engineers have reportedly discovered hidden kill switches in Chinese manufactured parts being used in American solar farms.
So the kill switch that they're talking about is an undocumented cellular module. So even if the power company that's operating that solar farm is trying to prevent that solar panel from getting out through its network, the solar panel essentially has a cell phone of its own.
Across the suburbs of America, something gleams under the sun. Solar panels, quiet, sleek, and modern, promise a new era. Freedom from rising energy costs, freedom from fossil fuels, freedom for future generations. But what if those panels weren't just gathering sunlight? What if they were gathering something else? Access. Today, Chinese manufacturers control over 50% of the global solar inverter market. Huawei alone holds 29% of that share. Beneath the panels lie solar inverters, the hidden brains of every system. And inside many of these inverters, undocumented communication modules, silent, unregulated, invisible to the homeowner, wait patiently. Modules capable of bypassing firewalls. Modules capable of receiving commands from anywhere. Not disclosed, not inspected, not safe. Imagine not installing energy independence, but a Trojan horse right above your living room. The invasion wouldn't come with missiles or armies. It would come quietly on a clear sunny day. And for millions of Americans, it already has. It started quietly, the way most disasters do. In April 2025, Spain and Portugal plunged into darkness. No storm, no earthquake, no cyber attack claim. Just a sudden blackout that wiped out power for over 50 million people in seconds. Hospitals lost electricity, airports shut down, emergency services froze. Entire cities silenced. Initial reports suggested a technical malfunction. But what investigators found was far more troubling. Spain's grid depends heavily on solar power, with over 53% of its electricity from renewables. And much of that infrastructure, particularly solar inverters, came from Chinese manufacturers. Forensic analysis uncovered irregular remote communications with inverter modules, raising fears that the blackout wasn't an accident, but a deliberate act of sabotage. David Kennedy, former director of Ohio's Electric Grid Security Office, warned, "An attack on the grid won't look like a missile strike. It'll look like a sunny day until the lights go out." The implications were global. Experts drew comparisons to the Texas blackout of 2021, where freezing storms crippled infrastructure, leaving 4.5 million Texans without power for days. But that disaster was natural, predictable, a failure of preparation. This was different. No weather warnings, no physical damage, just silence and darkness, engineered remotely. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, American officials began to worry. Over 60% of new residential solar inverters in the US are now imported from China. If a hostile actor could shut down a grid across Europe with remote access, what could they do to the fragmented, aging power networks of the United States? Worse still, US homeowners, in their pursuit of green energy, were installing these vulnerabilities on rooftops every single day. Not just critical infrastructure, not just military bases. Your home, your child's school, your neighborhood hospital. But what came next shocked even the most seasoned experts. Solar panels are only the beginning. The true brain of every solar system, the piece that converts sunlight into usable power, is the inverter. And inside many of these inverters lies a hidden threat. Investigators discovered undocumented cellular modules embedded deep within Chinese-manufactured inverters installed across Europe and the United States. These modules weren't listed on shipping manifests. They weren't declared in user manuals. They were invisible. But they could do something terrifying: bypass traditional cybersecurity firewalls and establish remote communications. Meaning, someone, somewhere, could access and control these inverters without detection, sending silent shutdown commands, altering voltage outputs, destabilizing entire grids. Mark Montgomery, former executive director of the U.S. Cyberspace Solarium Commission, put it bluntly: most Americans don't realize that their homes are already part of a massive, vulnerable attack surface. Energy experts warn that if just 3 to 4 gigawatts of solar capacity is manipulated remotely, cascading failures could cripple large sections of the American power grid. That's the equivalent of losing power across major cities with no physical invasion, no missile launches, no warning. And it gets worse. Over 60% of new residential solar inverters sold in the U.S. in 2025 were manufactured by Chinese companies, many of them with opaque supply chains and limited regulatory oversight. In theory, every connected inverter could act as a remote access point, a node in a sprawling, invisible network embedded inside America's infrastructure. Not a potential vulnerability, but an operational Trojan horse. It's not hypothetical. In 2023, cybersecurity researchers at Gridlock Labs demonstrated a simulated attack. They remotely shut down hundreds of inverters across a mock grid setup, causing voltage imbalances severe enough to trip protective relays, mimicking a real-world blackout. The entire operation took minutes. No guns, no bombs, just silent code traveling across the airwaves. It's not sabotage waiting to happen, it's sabotage already installed. Wall Street analysts have begun sounding the alarm. Shares in major American energy companies have dropped as investors realize that the green energy boom may be building an infrastructure riddled with foreign backdoors. Meanwhile, U.S. defense officials are reviewing military installations, many of which have adopted solar arrays to meet Pentagon clean energy targets. But the reality is grim. Even if critical sites are protected, the grid is only as strong as its weakest link. And right now, that link might be installed on the roof of a quiet suburban home, or thousands of homes. Every panel, every inverter, a potential weapon, sitting, waiting. Picture a quiet neighborhood in Ohio. Rows of homes lined up neatly, each roof gleaming with solar panels, a symbol of progress, responsibility, independence. At one home, the Johnson family had invested heavily in going green. Their rooftop array was state-of-the-art, imported from a well-known brand offering competitive prices and high efficiency. What they didn't know was that the inverter hidden in their garage contained more than just hardware. It contained a hidden back door. On a sunny afternoon, without warning, their power went out. Lights flickered once, then silence. Their refrigerator stopped humming. Their Wi-Fi router died. Their home security system went dark. But it wasn't just their house. Across the street, the neighbors lost power too. And down the block, more houses. And across town, the local hospital's backup systems failed to kick in. Within minutes, an entire section of the grid collapsed, plunging the area into chaos. Emergency services scrambled, but they were blind. Traffic lights were down. Hospitals ran out of emergency reserves. Communication networks staggered under the load. No storms, no warnings, just silence, engineered by an invisible hand. The Johnsons, like millions of Americans, never suspected that in their quest for clean energy, they had imported a Trojan horse onto their roof. Over 90% of rooftop solar installations in Australia rely on Chinese-manufactured inverters, a dependency that Australian intelligence agencies now classify as a national security risk. The United States isn't far behind. Industry analysts warn that if remote activation of compromised inverters occurs, it could destabilize not just neighborhoods, but entire cities. Imagine New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, losing power block by block. Imagine hospitals, airports, military bases, reliant on grids quietly infiltrated by foreign-made technology. And all of it orchestrated not through visible armies, but through silent code. The enemy doesn't need to cross the border. The border has already crossed into our homes. The Johnsons thought they were securing their future. They never realized they were opening their front door to the enemy. Neither have millions of others. While American families worry about energy bills, a far more dangerous battle is being fought silently, invisibly. In May 2025, it happened. Pakistan's military command announced it had paralyzed 70% of India's power grid. No tanks crossed the border. No missiles were fired. Instead, power plants went dark. Hospitals shut down. Traffic systems collapsed. Airports grounded. Over 350 million people were affected within hours. Analysts quickly traced the attack back to a coordinated malware infiltration, one that exploited vulnerabilities in India's increasingly digitized energy infrastructure. But there was more. Hidden in the background was a familiar name: China. For years, Chinese tech giants had supplied components to India's power sector: inverters, smart grid controllers, communication modules. These devices weren't just hardware. They were potential weapons. Cybersecurity experts warned that embedded kill switch technologies had been lying dormant for years, waiting for activation. The silent siege wasn't a theory anymore. It was reality. U.S. intelligence agencies raised alarms. If it happened in India, a nation with a centralized energy grid, what about the United States, where the power system is fragmented, decentralized, and vastly more vulnerable? Mark Montgomery, former Cyberspace Solarium Commission head, stated bluntly, "The American grid wasn't built for resilience, it was built for convenience. That makes it a perfect target." And the infiltration wasn't theoretical. Inverter by inverter, panel by panel, access points have been quietly embedded across the American landscape. Homes, schools, hospitals, military bases. Each one a potential trigger point. Each one connected to a broader network of vulnerabilities invisible to the naked eye. If a foreign actor could paralyze 70% of India, what could they do to New York, to Chicago, to Dallas? What happened there could happen here, faster, harder, and with far greater consequences. And it wouldn't just be the lights going out. It would be the lifeblood of American society, frozen by a silent, unseen hand. The blackout in India wasn't a standalone event. It was a glimpse into a larger, darker strategy, one that's been decades in the making. China has been embedding itself not just in foreign supply chains, but in the very nervous systems of modern life. It started with solar inverters, low profile, essential, connected. But it didn't end there. Huawei, long banned from US 5G infrastructure, secretly operates 11 semiconductor foundries and 10 research centers under shell companies. These facilities manufacture more than just consumer electronics. They produce critical chips, the kind used in inverters, 5G routers, AI servers, cloud storage systems. Carnegie Endowment for International Peace found that 62% of new data centers built in the US in 2025 incorporated Chinese manufactured components, often through rebranded third-party suppliers. Data, power, communications, each domain intertwined, each vulnerable. While the West raced toward a future of smart cities, green energy, and connected living, China quietly laid the groundwork for something else: silent siege warfare. A strategy not based on physical occupation, but on technological occupation. By embedding vulnerabilities into the lifeblood of infrastructure, Beijing ensures that in any future conflict, it holds a silent but devastating advantage. A single kill switch command could do more damage than 1,000 missiles. Solar panels gleaming atop suburban homes, outfitted with remote access inverters. 5G networks humming with compromised base stations. AI cloud systems running on Chinese manufactured processors, silently harvesting and routing information. None of it visible to the naked eye. None of it listed in procurement documents, but all of it present, all of it waiting. And the most chilling part? It was installed legally, purchased willingly, welcomed openly, in the name of cheaper technology, in the name of green progress, in the name of economic efficiency. But efficiency comes at a price, one America may be unable to afford. National security analysts now call it death by connectivity, the idea that the more connected a society becomes, the more exposed it is to invisible sabotage. And America, in its pursuit of convenience and sustainability, may have built the perfect target. We thought we were building a greener future. We thought we were investing in innovation, in sustainability, in freedom. But what if the very systems we trusted to save us have become the means to control us? What if, in our quest for convenience, we handed over the keys to our lives, circuit by circuit, chip by chip? If energy, communication, and information can be shut down remotely, what remains sovereign? What remains American? The panels on our roofs, the phones in our pockets, the servers storing our memories, the grids lighting our cities, all connected, all vulnerable. Mark Montgomery, cybersecurity expert, warned, "Connectivity is a double-edged sword. The more we connect, the more we expose." And exposure doesn't announce itself with fanfare. It moves silently. It waits patiently. It strikes when least expected. Imagine the lights going out, not from a storm, not from human error, but from a decision made halfway around the world. No sound, no warning, just darkness. And the terrifying realization that we built the switch ourselves. Are we really lighting the way to a better future? Or are we wiring the noose around our own necks? One solar panel, one chip, one connection at a time.